policy is that a speeding ticket that's 15 miles per hour or more over, it would need to be 3 years old in order for us to bring a driver on with that citation. Right now, we're just not able to risk our drivers out there speeding. It's just not something that we're able to afford to do.
We don't condone any speeding whatsoever. And really, our speed policy is more a derivative of us trying to be the safest fleet in America, making sure that we can control our vehicles in all speeds. It's not just about what our vehicles are doing, but what other vehicles are also doing.
You know, anything over the speed limit obviously is not safe or legal. That's why they have a set of what they do, but 15 is definitely egregious. You know, if we've got somebody going 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, they're obviously either not paying attention to what the speed limit is, which is a problem, or don't care about what the speed limit is, which is just as big as a problem.
So seatbelt violations is another black and white. It would need to be 3 years old before we would be able to bring a driver on with that citation. It just cuts the risk of an injury in half if a driver's wearing their seatbelt. And I just feel like if a driver has a citation not wearing a seatbelt, he probably isn't wearing it every day because it's a habit, right? So if I wear my seatbelt every day, I'm going to do it every single time I get behind the wheel.
We're not just saying, hey, seatbelts or a no-fly zone for us, because we want to be consistent with what the law is having us do, but we want to make sure our drivers are getting home safe, getting home the same way that they come to work, right? And we know that we work closely with people in our industry. We know there is a high likelihood if drivers are involved in situations that seatbelt will save their life.
And it is 100% habit. You got to be thinking about it, but then you build that habit and you do it without even thinking. And that's just how you have to be, no matter if you're going 500 miles down the road for your shift, or if you're going 10 miles to the next truck stop, or if you're moving around to the other lot. You know, you just got to make sure that you're putting your belt on every time you sit in the seat.
Any handheld device citations would need to be 3 years old before we'd be able to bring a driver on with that citation. And we just like to make sure everyone understands that that doesn't just include cell phones. That could also be a GPS and a tablet, a headset, or just any portable device. We just can't afford for our drivers to be out there having any sort of distracted driving.
That's not just a cell phone. That could be an iPod, your cell phone. That could be messing with your GPS, right? So anything handheld device, when you're in that driver's seat, you need to be driving.
You know, and using your GPS, that's one thing, but you got to have a trip plan too. You can't just be looking at your phone the entire time. You can't be looking at your phone at all. You know, if you've got a GPS in the dash that you can watch to help come up on exits and things like that, you know, that's definitely beneficial, but you got to at least know where you're going to. You can't just blindly go into everywhere without knowing even an idea where you're going to get to.
So a DOT preventable crash would need to be 3 years old before we would be able to bring a driver on board with that on their record. Let's talk about what a DOT preventable crash is. That would be any crash that involves an injury, a fatality, or a tow away. So a truck or a vehicle that needed disabling damage and required a tow.
The easy way that a lot of people remember that is they say hearse, nurse, or tow. We don't want drivers to come in to our company who have just had a DOT crash. It's our belief that these are preventable crashes. When you have a DOT preventable, if you're let go from another company, we don't want to ultimately inherit bad habits, right? We want to put only safe drivers in our company.
We can't have big preventable crashes, and frequency breeds severity. So if we continue to have crashes, ultimately you're going to have a big one, and we just got to prevent those from happening. So we don't want people that are not paying attention to where they're getting in a preventable DOT reportable.
Right now, we aren't able to bring drivers on that have any more than 2 non-DOT preventable crashes in the last 3 years. So any crash that would be like hitting a fixed object or backing or anything like that that wasn't a DOT crash would go under this category. And the reasoning behind that is just because we have seen the trend where frequency equals severity. So you might have just a couple crashes that aren't super severe, but they're going to be leading up to the one crash that is severe.
So a non-DOT recordable would be anything where, what people want to call a minor accident or a minor bump or anything like that. But even the small ones add up. Like the average cost of a backing crash is about $5,000, and that adds up. And frequency breeds severity. If you have enough of those small ones, eventually you're going to have a big one. And if you're not paying attention enough to be watching your mirrors or get out and look, what else are you not paying attention to?
There's a saying in the industry, frequency breeds severity. And basically what that means is we start seeing these pattern behaviors. Are we gearing up for the big one? That's just, there's got to be a root cause. And typically that root cause is perceived.